instead of going through the front door and saying, hey, I want to be a rapper, but I'm an old head, you can say, man, I need to build a platform and I need to have an audience. Maybe what I do is I build this.
I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need a help. Ooh, I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need a help. Ooh, that's right. I don't need nothing else. That's right.
King's Dream Entertainment.
All right, yo. So I'm like an old head, and I'm probably gonna make one more record. What would you suggest, like a 34-year-old who's been there and done that? I've like toured the world and everything. I just never had a Facebook or Twitter or anything until like way later when that started being a very important thing. And it was like, oh, who's that Kevlar guy? But I'm an old head and I'm gonna make another record, like, and maybe I have maybe 1,000 fans. I have like 1,000 likes on my Facebook. What would you suggest an old head do to make it actually pop?
Man, that's a great question. First of all, stop referring to yourself as an old head off top. Cause did this man disappear? What happened? Kevlar disappeared. What happened?
I got unplugged. I unplugged my mic.
You're good. All right, so off top, stop referring to yourself as an old head. You know what I'm saying? You're not old, bro.
Kinda.
No, you're not.
Compared to some like the kids, man, in high school listening to music, man. I'm an old head. I'm 34. They're like, man, this he could be my grandpa. And I'm like, no, it couldn't. But yeah, I'm kind of older than you.
Let me ask you. let me ask you a question. Do you think that you're putting that energy out there, though?
Nah. I'm just being honest with y'all. I don't like old head myself to people.
Because that's what you just did in this 25. Video. Hey, you're like, I'm an old head. I'm an old head.
Well, I am, but I don't like get on my social media and say, hey, I'm an old head. Hey, I'm 34 years old. Hey.
Yeah, man. Okay. I'm trying to figure out how to.
I wouldn't ask nobody that if like.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm 35. And I've never had any of the young kids refer to me as an old head. I'm a year older than you. So I think a part of I'll just be honest, I think a part of it's some of the energy you're putting out. You're putting out old head energy. You got to do away with the old head energy. We need some new head energy. I need you into whatever's cool. I need you into fashion, into whatever culture is, right? So I think off top, the energy you're putting out is probably old head energy. And I like new stuff. I'm up on new stuff. I'm checking for Baby Keem. I'm checking for Not Clyde. I'm listening to what the kids are listening to, not because I listen to it and I like it, just because I want to be engaged in culture. So I think I would just say that I was around dudes that were 21, 23, and 28. And they were like, bro, you don't come off like you're 35. When I get around Lecrae, who's just turned he's turning 41 this year. He don't act like an old head. He's almost, 8 years older than you, right? And he don't put that energy out there, right? 2 Chainz is like 44. Rick Ross is like 44, right? Pusha T.
Eminem's like 47, I think.
Yeah, Eminem, right? Like 2 Chainz, Rick Ross, all these guys, like they're not Pusha T, they're not coming off like old heads because they're close to the culture and they're immersed in the culture. So I would say that off top. Hip hop is changing, music is changing, culture is changing. It matters if your audience is 13, 14, yes, it's gonna matter if you're 30 and they're gonna think that's whack. But if your audience is 18 to 25, they probably don't care what your age is. You know what I mean? Or maybe they don't care as much. Now, I would say second, you got to figure out what your goal is, right? You got to figure out what your goal is. And depending on what your goal is, you got to then figure out if you're willing to sacrifice for that goal. Be very direct with you. I am not trying to go to the NBA. There's no hope for me going into NBA. It's a wrap, guys, right? Now, does that mean I don't train? Does that mean I don't want to dunk this year? Does that mean I don't, you know what I mean? Like I'm not putting in work. I'm trying to dunk this year. Not because I'm trying to go to the NBA, just because it's a personal goal of mine, right? But I have no delusions that Ruslan is not gonna make it as a professional ball player. It's just not in the cards. Now, if my goal was to make it to the NBA as a 35-year-old man, the sacrifice would have to be way deeper, right? Like it would have to be on some like Rudy, you know what I mean? The smallest guy trying to make it to play football, like, right? So I think you have to figure out what is the goal, and is your level of commitment to the sacrifice willing to reflect the whole. My goal is to dunk. My level of commitment is I'm willing to do the commitment and the sacrifice to get there. I may not get there, but I'm willing to. My goal is not to be LeBron James. Okay, that ship has sailed. I don't have the genes for that. The timing for that, that's gone. It's not happening, right? So you got to ask yourself, what is the goal for Kevlar? You got to be very sober with yourself. Is the goal to the equivalent of, man, I'm 35 and it would be dope if I could dunk? Hey, just a personal goal. It would be dope. I want to make a super fire album. It would be dope. Or is the goal, I want to play overseas ball? Or is the goal, I want to be LeBron James? You got to figure out where you're at in that equation. You know, I want to be in the rec league and I want to dunk on somebody in a rec league. That's different than I want to play overseas professional basketball, which is different than I want to go to the NBA. 3 different tiers. So you got to ask yourself, like, what do you want to actually do? What do you want to accomplish? There's nothing wrong with people wanting to put in money and be a part of rec leagues and play basketball in a rec league with a referee and jerseys and or people wanting to be in a bowling league. There's nothing wrong with that. It's dope to have hobbies. But when you start entering the territory of, I want this to be a livelihood, I want to get paid to play professional basketball, different degree of sacrifice, different degree of being engaged, different degree of nutrition, different degree of training, different degree of coaching. You got to be really financially stable. You got to be willing to pay people to coach you to get you to those new heights. Is it impossible for me to go play basketball overseas for a summer? It's not impossible. Is it very unlikely? It's very, very unlikely, but it's possible. Like, it's within the realm of possibility. If I had $100,000 to throw at it, I didn't have to worry about doing anything else but playing basketball, I could probably ride the bench somewhere overseas, right? And like say I got paid to play professional basketball. So I'm using basketball as a metaphor, obviously, Kevlar. So you got to just ask yourself, what is the goal? What are you trying to do? Are you willing to put in the sacrifice? If the goal is you want to make a dope album, bro, make a dope album. Make a dope album. Go get the dope beats, rap over the stuff you want to do, and make what you want to make, and be aware with what's going on in culture and music to a degree, but do what you want to do and have fun. Who cares? Who cares if you have 100,000 monthly listeners on Spotify? Who cares? If you want to make this your career, you got to approach it completely different. You got to take it way different, and you got to then take a self-inventory and say, how are you going to do it? What's the end? What's the gimmick? What's the niche? What's the marketing? What's the sale? You then have to approach it like you're starting a business at 34, right? And a business is very difficult to start. Where's the funding coming from, right? So I would say that is how I would approach it. You know what I'm saying? That is how I would approach it. So again, what I'm doing for me, I'm 35. What I'm doing is I'm using other businesses and other streams of income to allow me to make the very best music I can make with the resources I have. So I have multiple streams of income. I have sync licensing. I have Patreon. I have shows. I have all these different things. I'm building a freaking shoe hustling, flipping tennis shoes. I might open up a consignment. I'm doing all these different things, and I'm taking some of that money and I'm putting it into a place where I can make music with the guys I want to make music. That'll make the best possible music for me, so that I don't have any delusions that I'm going to be Kendrick. Like, I'm not going to be LeBron of rap, right? But I feel like with rap, I could probably play at an overseas level and like ride the bench or get on the court and make some plays and make a basket. Like, I feel like I could be there with rap. So I got to get the coaches. I got to sacrifice. I got to put the bread up. I got to figure out how to get the videos done. I got to figure out I got to be close to the culture. I got to know what's cool. I got to be around young people, right? I'm willing to make the sacrifice to do that. And I'm willing to say, you know what? I never got paid on that degree, but it's all good because I'm super nice and I could go play pickup basketball and I could ball with just about anybody, and I may not be LeBron James, but I love rap and I could perform at a proficient level. I know I just said a whole lot. Does that make sense? Is that helpful?
No, for real. It does. It does make a lot of sense. Because I could do it. you know, I could, like, I know how I could make my music and doing, you know, evangelical hip hop and get popping and make money. I ain't worried about the bread. I guess it's just am I going to commit to that? Is that what I really want? You were right. Is that what I really want to do?
Yeah.
Do I want to do hip hop? Because I did it for a really, really long time already. I don't know, because I'm either going to be doing theologian type stuff. I'm in seminary teaching classes and stuff, or I'm going to do the hip hop thing, because I can't be divided. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't have two different directions. I have to either go one way or another way.
You're in seminary right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Been there for a while.
Heck yeah, that's dope. So, yeah, bro, I was I was in a very similar spot than you, bro. I was 29, about to be 30. My son was born. I was on staff at my church as the video guy, and I was teaching from our Sunday morning platform. I was communicating from the Sunday morning platform 6 to 8 times a year in front of the whole congregation. And I had to make a decision. Am I going to pursue this art and try to make a living off this and be an entrepreneur, or am I going to stay in ministry? And for me, ministry was the safe bet. You know what I mean? And it was the easier thing. And I knew that, like, I wasn't wired to work for other people. And at the end of the day, I didn't want a ceiling on my income being in ministry. That was a value of mine. I grew up poor. I live in Southern California. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be making mid 6 figures to buy a home and, you know what I mean, live comfortably there. So it's like, I didn't want those limitations, and I didn't want to be a pastor trying to make $250,000 a year. I just thought that was kind of weird and unethical. I've seen guys try to do that, and I was just like, you know what, this has the best shot for me to build the life that I want to build for me and my family, and I feel like I could be the most effective doing this. And I already had some success. I already made a little bit of money, and it just made sense for me, man. So I think for you, yeah, you have to then examine it. These are conversations I'd be having with your wife. And there's nothing wrong with doing music as a tie-in into a sermon. There's nothing wrong with writing a super dope a cappella rap or spoken word that you're using your gift of music to open up a sermon with. That's super fire. I mean, look at what the Beautiful Eulogy guys did. Like, they made very explicitly theological rap, and it was dope, and they did it with excellence. And then they pivoted and they went into ministry, and it's a beautiful transition for them, and they're doing really well. I knew for me, I didn't want to do that, and I also knew that, like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't go back to music at 40. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't go back to music at 40. I can go back to ministry at 40. You know what I'm saying? I could wake up at 40 and be like, I think I'm going to go get a job at a church. I could wake up tomorrow and be like, I think I'll go get a job at a church. And I could go get a job at a church in San Diego. I could probably figure that out. You can't do that when you're 35, 40, 45 and say, I think I'm going to give music a shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe YouTube, like you could be like, man, I think I'm going to give you, but not being a rapper. Like, it's just such a young man's sport. And if you're not already super cool and into culture and you dress cool and you got those things about you that give you those things, like, it's just a really late time to try to learn how to dunk on somebody at 35. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just if you're not grabbing the rim, it's very unlikely you're going to yam at somebody at 35. Like, it's possible.
I'm dunking over kids already, though. I know. I'm very engaged with the culture. I've never stopped.
I want to say something though that music people look at as the kind of final, but music is a vehicle. Whether you have when you have something to say,
yeah,
you can say it speaking, you can say it through music, or you can say it through action. You can yam on somebody and not say a word, and you're saying a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? You don't physically say a word, you can give somebody that look after you've thrown down and you've said something. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So whether you want to look at it athletically or spiritually or mentally, you know what I'm saying, when it comes through music, if you have something to say, if you dedicate to your something to say, whatever vehicle it takes, no matter which avenue you take,
yeah, it's
going to work. If what you have to say is fire, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter whether it's through music, whether it's through poetry or spoken word or a sport, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter which one it is. Break it down to what you have to say and what you want to do, and that vehicle will present itself as the most efficient vehicle, I guess.
Yeah, Kev, I would say if you ask me the same exact question about building a YouTube platform, about building a podcast, about building something like a merch brand, I think that is substantially aligned with what Sane just said in terms of it being a vehicle that's within the realms and congruent to theology. And then if you build that platform big enough, like there's a YouTube page I watch occasionally from time to time, and they're like super duper reformed. They interviewed like Pastor Adam Tyson, who's Kanye's pastor, and they just really interesting stuff, right? And like
Apologia?
Yeah, Apologia. Yep, those guys. Like I could see you building something like that. And you get that to 100,000 subscribers, then you could drop some music. You know what I'm saying?
They'd probably start doing polemical blogs against me because I'm not reformed at all.
Yeah, I don't want to get into a reformed and not reformed conversation. What I'm saying is that's an example.
Terminology, old head, if I ask the question.
That's an example though of you can get your foot in the door instead of going through the front door and saying, "Hey, I want to be a rapper, but I'm an old head." You can say, "Man, I need to build a platform, and I need to get attention, and I need to have an audience." Maybe what I do is I build a super dope YouTube page / podcast around content I'm also interested in. And then at a point, I work in my music.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the route.
I got some new tech software from my laptop to be able to record like what you're doing, the podcast, basically,
Yeah.
Screen and whatnot. You can have a green screen behind you.
I'll give you a final story. I don't know if you know who Belief is. Belief is one of my best friends. We were in a group called Dream Junkies. He's super dope, one of the dopest Christian hip hop artists.
I remember. I watched you guys back in the day.
So Belief, one of the dopest Christian hip hop artists ever, in my opinion, had trouble resonating in the market as an artist. So what did Belief do? He said, "I'm going to step away from music, and I'm going to go be the black dad on YouTube. I'm going to be Ned Flanders." You know what I'm saying? Meets rapper, right? And I'm gonna be Ned Flanders meets Black Thought on YouTube. Built himself 150,000 subscriber YouTube page. Got his Instagram popping. Got super duper dope at YouTube. Made the money to hire the team. I don't know if Junior's still in here. Made the money to hire a team and pay people what they're worth. Why? Because he did something where he was an anomaly. He wasn't another rapper trying to make it. I'm another Christian rapper. So no. I'm going to go completely different in a totally different world. I'm going to get popping on YouTube as a black father. Got popping. And then what's Belief doing now? Guess what? He came back to music with the bread, with the audience, with the clout, with the consistency, with the work ethic, and the confidence to then drop a video every single week. And I guarantee you he's going to be bigger as a rapper than he's ever been. Why? Because he went and filled a need. Where is the need? Oh, there wasn't any family black fathers vlogs on YouTube. Open need, open world, step in that space, right? So I think we have to think more tactically instead of trying to, like, again, everybody's trying to go through the front door. Bro, there's a back door, there's a side door, there's a window. Climb up to the freaking balcony. You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to get on and build yourself a business, there's so many different ways to do it instead of just being like, yo, I want to rap. It's like, yo, if the raps ain't resonating, then you got to take self-inventory and be like, yo, maybe the raps are great. Maybe it's just the audience isn't there yet. So you got to go build an audience.
Like how you did, when I came across your channel, this thing, I was like, man, this is fresh. Mm-hmm. I want to be a part of this. Mm-hmm. Even if I'm like, don't get no music, don't get nothing from it, you just want to be a part of it because it's cool.
Yep.
And I think, God's a part of it. I think if there was like I don't know how you set it up. It's like something people were looking for, some Christian rappers or any rapper was looking for.
Yeah, you know what I did, and I would encourage you to do the same thing. I solved a problem, Kevlar. I solved a problem that no one wanted to solve. I solved the problem of trying to help Christian rappers become better and feeding them content that was helpful to me of stuff that worked for me, and I tried to do it for other people.
And I think you were cutting off the baggage they brought to their Christian rap.
Yep.
That they can't make money. It's seen a certain way. You can't rap about anything but Jesus. You can do it as a career rather than just ministry for bread and water.
Yep.
I think that helped a lot of cats because I got that back in the day and I was like, yeah. I like Ruslan. He's doing his thing.
So my question to you is, are there parts of the theological stuff that you're super passionate about that you can parlay into a YouTube page? And how can you do that? And what do you need to do that? Do you need me to send you some gear recommendations? Do you know what I'm saying? Like what steps do you need to take to get there? Because I think that is going to be more of a indirect path to maybe someday doing music. But it sounds like you have a lot to say, but maybe it's the timing of the vehicle isn't the right timing of it right now. So you got a lot to say. That doesn't mean you shouldn't say it. That doesn't mean you have to shut your mouth and only go speak at churches because you got a theological degree. No, YouTube is amazing. Instagram's amazing. TikTok's amazing. Maybe the avenue is you need to learn how to communicate on these platforms and build yourself an audience.
Yeah. And like, I think it's people looking for something, you know, they don't have something to go to, and they have it like a desire. I'm not getting into the reform debate, but there's a lot of people who are not reformed, and they're like, I don't like what they're saying. What other like person can I listen to? It seems like all the theologians are reformed when they're not. But and like, there's a guy named Leighton Flowers. People like saw him. He was like one of the only ones that was able to articulate how to, you know, do polemics against that and show it's wrong. And he just went, and he's like one of the only ones doing it, right? And he's contrary to that system of theology. And that's kind of where I would be at. Yeah. Because is a friend of mine. And so like.
So you see a wide open lane, right? You see a wide open lane for people like, who desire theology, but they don't want to be Calvinist. You know what I mean?
I had a YouTube that was going, it was like, I got 130 subscribers in a week. And a bunch of reform guys came and flagged it, and it got taken down. That was a gut check, man.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be willing to fight for that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think you know what you need to do, man.
I've been up for a minute, now I'm down for it. I've been good with the team, never bad for it. I'ma work for the winner, never slack for it. And I live for the king, I got a crown for it. I know the way, ayy, know the way. He really is the way.